So I've gone and joined all our strips and I've gone and ironed them. And when I've ironed, I've actually put the seams out because it's a small strip. Putting the seams in, it gets very bulky. So I've ironed them out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to join the long sashing between the strips. There's not one on the top or the bottom, just between our rows. So we get our strips. Now as you were going along, if you found that from packing, from the packaging of the fabrics there's a little crease, you're most welcome to give them an iron, but don't iron too hard because you could actually distort the shape of the fabric. And these are all pre-cut to the size to make the quilt. So I'm going to grab my first strip. And these are longer than what you need. So if you have the end selvage edge, just let that overlap when you join, and then we'll trim it off. Now the first one's the easy one, so let's just join that one on first. Making sure as you sew that your seams stay flat the way you've ironed them. Okay, so as you can see there's a bit of material left over on the edge here from the sashing, so just lay it flat. Now if you want to use your rotary cutter, ruler, you're most welcome, or just grab a pair of scissors and trim it up to the side of the square, and we throw that piece away. Okay, and the other end, do the same thing, just get it flat and trim off that bit of excess. And you notice as I sew too, I don't go back and forth on the seams that I will be sewing over again. It can bulk it up, but it's not necessary. So that's our first one that we've put the sashing on. Now you can see in this quilt all these ones here actually line up. So we need to make sure when we're joining the second one that it lines up exactly underneath. Now what I've done, what you can do is grab some pins, but by feel, just grab the material, feel and look, and you can see that's lining up there. And just the edge of the sashing, get a pin and pin it, and then you can always pull it back and you can see that that's going to match up. So let's do that as we go along, because with printed fabrics, homespun, and with the embroidered ones, as I said, they've got the iron-on tearaway and tearaway and have been embroidered. They've also had the spray starch on them for stability. The fabric's not as movable, so with the printed fabrics there's still a bit of movement in it, so it has got stretch where these don't have as much stretch in them. So we need to make sure they match perfectly for you. So again, just by feel and by looking, just marry that up so that they match. Get it to the edge of the sashing, the long one, and again grab your pin and just pin it. And then you can always pull it back and see that it can match up. Move along to the next one. Again, by feel, look, them to match. Put your pin in. So even though these have all been cut to size and everything, they can distort a little bit when sewing if the fabric's got a bit of bias, or you've cut it into a smaller piece. There's a lot more movement in it. I'm just going to line that one up, pin, double check that that's okay, and then we can sew down this side, taking the pins out as we go. I'll just do this and I'll show you. Again, making sure your seams are going to go flat underneath your foot the way you've ironed them. Taking that little bit extra time to pin will give you the perfect lining of the materials. And there's those little bits when you're sewing along, these seams that you've ironed out flat, you get caught on the foot and come back towards you. Just with your needle down, lift your foot and just put the seam back in the correct way. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So when we open it up, you can see that it's going to go straight down and it hasn't gone off centre at all with the lines, with the sashing, the smaller sashing. So I'm going to continue and join all the sashing through, and I'll be back to join you in a minute. Okay, so I'm up to the last row, and I just wanted to show you again how to match them up. So we need to get these sashings here in line. So when we fold it over, you can actually feel, because you've ironed the seams out, you can actually feel where the seams are in the bottom one and the top one. Bring it up, give it a pin, okay, and just to check yourself, make sure it's all flat, you can fold it back with the seam and then fold it back again, and you can see that's the bottom one that's on the top now because you've folded it over, and this is the one you're joining, and that matches up. So again, as we move along, make sure it's flat, you can feel the bottom one, have a look, feel, and pin. And even if you lay it flat and bring it back this way, you can see how they're going to marry up. So I'm going to finish this one, sew it on, and then we're going to be putting the borders on.